and welcome to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed and today we're here for our final block in our 2019 Foundation Paper Piecing series. It's block 12 and it's called Pinwheel Square, and this is what the block looks like. So let's get started. Alrighty, so we're about to make the pinwheel square. So basically what you need to do first is head over to our blog. That is linked up down below. You can find all the things that you need for this block over on our website and also on our blog. There are 3 files over there for you to download. One will be a layout sheet, one will be a colouring sheet, and one will be a template sheet. So head over there, grab that, and then come on back. So you're also going to need some fabric. So I'm using red, white and black as I've done throughout the series. You're also going to need a rotary cutter, you're going to need some quilting rulers, some wonder clips, various scissors. So you're going to need some thread snips and also some paper scissors. I like to use this at a quarter, although I didn't start the series with an at a quarter ruler because I wanted to show you that you didn't actually need all the super tools for it. So that is an option to get, makes it a little bit easier. You're going to need some cardstock or a piece of plastic, for template plastic, to help line up your lines, a glue pen and some pins. Alright, so I'm going to move this all out of the way and then I'm going to show you how to join your templates. Okay, so I've downloaded my templates and off camera I've actually cut them all out. So the pieces that you're going to need to do this is template A through to E, okay, and we have to join template A and template E. So you can see here that I've already joined this one. So how you do this, and it's a very weird shape, I know, but how you do this is basically just grab your template and you have your larger piece, so the one with E1 or A1 on it, just set that to the left hand side, and then the one that has E6 or A6, whichever one you're joining, you're just going to lay that down flat. You're going to grab your quilting ruler and just your rotary cutter or your scissors, it's up to you. I just use my rotary cutter, and then you can see there's like a little dotted line along here. So just bring that in closer for you and you can just see that little dotted line. We are actually going to line our ruler up onto that and we're going to trim on that line. So just like so. And it'll just take a little, about 1/4 inch off. Okay, so just set that aside, you don't need that anymore. And then what you're going to do is you are going to grab your glue pen. And then on this one you can see you've still got that little dotted line there, so that's great. And what we're going to do on this side of the line, we're going to put some glue. I just run a strip down and then I'm going to take the piece that I just cut and I'm going to line that up. So making sure that this line here is lining up and this line here is lining up as well. And you can see there that that is now lined up. And that's how we join our templates together. And to make it easier, you can trim off the little bits that don't line up, because I just cut around my template so they were never going to be even on the excess. So there you can see we now have our template, and basically we've got our 1/4 inch all the way around, and I've got a little bit of excess just to make sure, because we are working with some angles in this one. So once you've done template A and template B in that fashion, you're ready to start. So off camera I've already done a little bit of prep, because there is a lot of pieces in this one. Okay, so this is just the corner piece that will eventually go onto this piece here, okay, and turn it into a square. So that's the first piece that we're going to do, and for me it's super easy because it's all white. So basically all I'm going to do is grab my scrap bin out, because you can see there I've got a couple of little triangles and a square, and I'm sure in my scrap bin I have got some pieces for that. Okay, so basically all I'm going to do, I've got this piece here and I can just sort of cut that in half for now and get rid of some of that excess, and all I'm going to do is flip that piece over and I'm going to lay my piece of fabric on there. I will put a little bit of glue on that one, on B1, and I can see that that's covering all the paper on that side. So now what I need to do is just take off some of this little excess here to create my 1/4 inch seam. And all I do is flip that back over and then lay my template plastic on that dark line and pull the paper back grab my 1/4 ruler, place that on there, and get rid of that excess. And then repeat that for the other side. So just turning it around. Again, pull that back. And just remembering to have your fabric facing the right way up when you put it down for the first time. And now with the right sides touching, I'm going to place that next piece onto there, lining up my raw edges, and then just grabbing myself a pin, pinning that into place. And then what I'm going to do is just head over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to, like we've done in all the other blocks, we're going to stitch on that dark line, and then we'll repeat that for the next piece. Okay, so we've done that, and now we can just flip that over. And don't forget to reduce down your stitch size so it's a nice tight stitch, and it can make it easy to get off the paper when we need to. Again, we are going to grab our fabric, and I'm just going to trim this off because this is quite a big piece of fabric, and I can use that for the triangle that's remaining. So you can see there that I've just trimmed on that outside line, so that's given us a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now if you've never done this before and this is the first time you've come across this video, we have a whole playlist starting right at the beginning with the basics, and I'll link that down below for you, and you can start at block 1, and that'll give you a lot of information that you need to do this. Alright, so we're just going to lay that on there, and I like to have a little bit of fabric hanging off this side here because then I know that it's going to cover it. If you're not sure, just flip it across, and you can see there that I've got an excessive seam allowance there, and it's still covering it. So once I've used the correct seam allowance, it is actually going to cover all of that template. Alright, again, we just pop a pin in, flip it over, and head to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch on that dark line. Now don't forget to reduce your stitch length down. Okay, so we just flip that across. Again, we give that a nice little press with our presser, and now we're ready to trim up this template. And then you've got another 3 templates that you'll need to repeat this same process for. So again, lining up the 1/4 inch mark on that dark inner line, trimming off our excess fabric and paper. Okay, and that is our first template done. So you've got another 3, as I said, to do exactly the same as this, and then you can set them aside, and then we are going to start on our next piece. So grab template A, and you can see that this has got different grey colours on it. So as we've done in the past, our white one is for our white fabric, our light grey is for our red fabric, and the dark grey is for our black fabric. So we have 2 of these templates. I'm going to show you what to do on the first one, and then you'll repeat that with template E, and then we will be ready to assemble the block together. Okay, so we're going to start with template A, and the first thing that we need to do is find A1, and we can tell here that because it's light grey, that is going to be a red fabric. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to flip that over, and then you are going to put some glue. Then you're going to grab your red fabric with the right side facing up, and you're just going to place that on. Now yes, I do have a larger piece of fabric here. That's okay, I can trim off the excess. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip that back over, and I can see here that that's not going to quite cover, so I've got to move it across a little bit more. And with these angles, sometimes you've got to do it like flip it over just to have a look. Put some glue, and I can see now that this is going to go past the point, so I'm pretty happy with that, and the same down here. Alright, so now what we're going to do, even though we've got that big piece of excess fabric, we're still going to place our template plastic onto that line. We're going to fold our template back, grab our 1/4 ruler, and butt that up against the edge of the paper, and then we're going to trim off that excess. And you can see now that we've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that's going to make it super easy to pop the black fabric on, because that's the next piece, which is A2. So I'm fairly confident at this point that I can actually trim off my red fabric, because I know that that is covering all of the template, and I can get rid of that big piece of fabric, and it's gone now, and I don't have to worry about it. Next we're going to flip it back over, and then we're going to grab our black fabric, and of course black fabric picks up every piece of fluff in your sewing room. Then we're going to lay our raw edges on there, and I'm definitely going to put a pin in this one because it is such a big piece of fabric. Okay, so they're right sides together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch on this line here. Okay, making sure that you back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and then we'll come back and we'll trim it up. Okay, so we've done that. We've stitched on that line. We can remove our pins now. Then we're just going to flip that back across, grab our little hand press, give that a nice little press, flip that back over, and now the next piece we're going to put on is another red piece, and that is A3. So again, we grab our template plastic and pop that onto that line that's connecting A2 to A3, pull our template back, grab our outer quarter, and at this point I can trim off this excess. That gets rid of that. Flip our template back over, turn it over, grab our red fabric, line up our raw edges, pop a couple of pins in just to make sure that our fabric doesn't flip over. Then head over to the sewing machine and stitch down this line. Okay, so we've done that one. We can remove our pins out and we can get rid of our excess threads there. Then we're just going to flip our fabric over, smooth it down with our fingers, and then just either press it or grab your little hand press. I love these little hand presses. All right, so the next piece that we need to do is number 4. All right, so, but for now we can get rid of this excess. So I'm just going to, where A6 connects to A3, I'm just going to pop the template plastic on there and just create that 1/4 inch there, just to get rid of this excess fabric. Now we have to add a white piece of fabric on it because that's what the template is telling us. So basically what you need to do is align your template plastic up on where A1 to A4 meet. And as I said, you're just going to repeat this for template E exactly the same way. Again, we put our outer quarter on, butting that up against the template plastic and the paper, grab our rotary cutter and remove that excess. All right, so the next piece of fabric we need to put on, as I said, is a white. So now what we do is we flip that over, and that's going on this side here, and we line up our raw edges. Again, this is a larger piece of fabric, so I'm going to pop a couple of pins in. If it's a small piece, I tend not to put any pins, but that comes with a little bit more experience and a little bit more confidence. You just have to make sure that your fabric isn't flipping like this and then you're sewing it down, because you'll be unpicking. All right, so making sure that your fabrics are right sides together, then we're going to, like we've done before, head to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch on that line. Alrighty, so that is now done. Take our pins out, flip that over, give it a nice little press. Again, flipping it back over, and now we need to add another red piece to A5. So we just grab our template plastic again, line it up on that line that's connecting A4 to A5, move our paper template back over the template plastic, and then again we're just going to get rid of this excess and create our nice 1/4 inch seam there. All right, and next we need to grab some red fabric, so we're going to flip that over. You can see there we've got a nice straight edge. You can see here I've got this little piece of excess that was cut off, and that is going to fit on there nicely. All right, so now what I need to do is just pop a pin in there, head over to the sewing machine and stitch on that line. Okay, so there's a little bit of a process to this template, but you can see how it's coming together nicely. Give it another press, flip it over. Now we've already done, if you haven't already done it, you now have to create your 1/4 inch, but we already did that because I had that big excess piece, and it's just a white piece that's going on here. All right, so now all I'm going to do is flip it back over, and then with the right sides touching, I'm going to align up my raw edges, and I'm going to double check that it's going to fit, and I can see that it is. That in, and then again we're going to stitch on this line here. All right, so that is now done. We can flip that across, give that a nice little press, and now we're ready to trim off the excess fabric. So you can see that I've got bits of fabric hanging out everywhere, so we want to get rid of that. And all we do for that is, like we've done in the past, we grab our quilting ruler and we are going to align our 1/4 inch mark. So on here, it's this bit here, and I'm going to align that on this dark inner line. And then I'm going to cut that outer light line, and that will leave us a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So just straight across there and get rid of that. And you can see there I've still got that, because we're going to stitch on this line here, so I've still got that 1/4 inch. And then I'm just going to rotate that around and continue all the way around the template. Now if your ruler's too short, that's fine. Just make sure that you're lining up on that line, and you can move your ruler up. So you can see here, like my ruler would almost go all the way, but it's still a little bit short at the top end. So all I do is, so I've got a little bit more stability with my ruler, I just lay it on that line, and then I slowly, without moving the rotary cutter, I slowly move the ruler up, and then I line it up again and take off that excess. And I'll just get rid of our corners. We don't need those. Okay, and that is template A done. So you're going to repeat that with template E exactly the same way. And as I said off camera, I had done all of the corner components. Okay. And then you have a centerpiece. So this one I've done off camera as well. So this is the D template. So you can see there that again, you just follow the numbers. So you're starting at 1, which is a red piece, then a black piece, then the white piece goes in the center, then a black piece is attached to that, and then you finish with a red piece. Okay, and that's what it will look like. So continue doing that, and then we'll come back and we will finish assembling our block. Okay, so we've done all our templates, and now what we need to do is grab our layout page. So I'm just going to sit that up in the corner, and you can see we've got all these weird shapes, so we need to make it into a square. So the first one that you want to get is template A, and you're just going to set that up the top here. Okay, and template D is the centerpiece, and template E is the bottom piece here. Okay, and then you've got these templates that are left over, so we can put template C over here, template F down here, G down here, and B up here. And you can see now that that's creating a square. So how are we going to put all these together? Well, it's got quite a few rows. So the first thing that we need to do is just separate it a little bit, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take template A and B, and you're going to place that on that corner just like so. Okay, and you're going to line everything up, and this point here will match up with this line here. Okay, and then what I'll do, because I'm going through the paper and it's a little bit thick, I'm going to just pop a wonder clip on there. You can use a pin if you want to, that's fine. And then on the opposite side we're going to put template C, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, lining everything up. You can see that that's lining up there. And then I'm just going to pop a wonder clip on there. Okay, so then I'm going to head over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch down on this line, making sure that I do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and then I'm going to repeat for the other side. Okay, so now then you just flip that out, and then you do the exact same thing with template E. So again, we're just going to line those up, and just make sure that all your raw edges are lining up and nothing's curling up or anything like that. And then you can either use a wonder clip or a pin. If you do use a pin, my suggestion is, this is what I would do, is I put my tip of my pin through, so you can see there, it's going through that point, and it should come out, if it's all lined up properly, it should come out on the line on the back. Okay, so you can see that I've gone into the point and it's come out on that line, so I know that they are going to line up nicely like this one here. Okay, you might have to put a couple of extra pins in if you have to, that's fine. And then you're going to repeat that for the other side, making sure that all our raw edges are lining up. You can see there, I've just put it into the point and it's come out at the top there. And then I just lay the pin on that line, and I know that that's going to line up nicely. Okay, so you can remove your pins and then you can just flip that over. At this point I like to give these pieces a bit of a press before I add the middle piece in. So this one just gets turned around like so, and you can see how it all comes together. So I'm going to give that a quick press, and then we're going to add our rows together. So A, D and E will get stitched together. Okay, so that's all pressed. Now I'm going to take template D and I'm going to place that onto template A, and I'm going to put a couple of pins in here at these seams so they line up nicely, and then I'll probably put a couple of pins at the end just so it all holds in place. Okay, so I've put them in at that point, and you can see that the pins are coming out at the point on the back as well, so I know that those seams are going to line up really nicely. And then I'm just going to make sure that all my raw edges are aligning and nothing's curling up underneath. Then I'll just wax some wonder clips on the end, and then I'm ready to head over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to do a back stitch at the beginning, stitch along this line and do a back stitch at the end. Okay, so that's stitched into place. Now I'll just take those pins out and we can open that up, and you can see that that is lined up really nicely. So again, at this point I will give this a quick press just with my hand presser, and then I'll give it a really good press once I'm finished assembling the block. Alright, so our next piece needs to go on, and that is template E. So again, we just line that up on top of that, making sure that our seams are nesting, which means that they're lining up nicely, popping a pin in, making sure it's coming out and going down that seam line, and then repeat for the other seam. And so you can pull it back and you can see that it's lining up, and I'm just making sure that it's not going to move on me when I go to sew by popping a pin in there. And I find just popping it into that point, you can come out and you can see that it's just coming straight out on that point as well. So I know that those seams are perfectly lined up. And then a couple of wonder clips just to hold everything else in place, making sure nothing is curled up and all our fabric is right sides together and our raw edges are aligning. And then we'll head over to the sewing machine and stitch on that line again. Okay, so that is that. We're going to pull those pins out, flip that over. We can see that everything's lining up nicely. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the iron and I'm going to give it a really good press, get rid of all of these little bits and pieces that the black fabric picks up. Okay, so there is our Pinwheel Square. It is quite an effective block once it all goes together. I love how it's got all those components and then it just comes together right at the end. Now don't forget to join us. This is our last block, so this is number 12 in our series. So the next video that we'll be posting in this series will be the block assembly and also how to do the border. So you can see here that we have, I'll try not to get glare on that for you. So we've got a border, that piece that's got to go in, and we've got some cornerstones and sashing to go in. So over the course of the next couple of weeks I'll finish assembling that all together, and I'll show you how to do that. The final measurement of the quilt overall is 55.5 inches by 70.5 inches, but you can see it's quite effective. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do hope that you enjoyed making the Pinwheel Square. It's a great block to go together, a little bit of a lengthy process, but we got there in the end. Now we do have our assembly videos coming up, and they will be going up over the next couple of weeks. I'm still working on those, so keep an eye out for the final assembly videos. I'll show you how to make the border and set the sashing and all of the things that need to happen for the quilt to be finished. So if you like this video today, give us a thumbs up down below, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and that way you won't miss out on any future posts. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reid for Darvanalee Designs Studio, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.